Hi guys, this is I guess it would be round 3 of trying to record some information on separation anxiety. This was originally supposed to be a Facebook Live video, but due to some technical difficulties, that just, excuse me, wasn't going to happen today. So, talking about separation anxiety, I know in the little bit of live video that I was able to produce this morning, we talked about the definition of separation anxiety. So I'm gonna start over again. Sorry for anyone who had to watch the other one. Um, so when you Google separation anxiety, the definition that comes up from Wikipedia is separation anxiety in dogs describes a condition in which a dog exhibits distress and behavior problems when separated from its handler. So, take into consideration what is distress and what kind of behavior problems are we looking at. Now, there can be quite an array of behavior problems that arise, and there has been a lot of there's a lot of misdiagnosis out there as well. And of course, for younger dogs, here, let me just start over. So, separation anxiety is very normal for dogs. From the time that they're born, and say their mom gets up to go to the bathroom, they're already whining for their mom. So, in a sense, separation anxiety starts pretty young. So, taking that into consideration, there's things we can do to prevent it when it comes to your dog becoming anxious over you being separated as well. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth about a lot of things, partially because there's a lot of information when it comes to separation anxiety. Now, I'm also going to be setting up a course that goes way into depth about a lot of the things to take into consideration when your dog does have separation anxiety, or rather any form of anxiety. I know I've gotten a lot of interest and questions about that from the military family community. So it's pretty common, especially since sticking to a routine for a dog is it's pretty hard in that sort of lifestyle. So with that being said, I'll answer as much of the background of separation anxiety as I can today. And I did get a question from Michelle about her puppy who they're looking to, it sounds like, prevent some separation anxiety from occurring, or looking at fixing a little bit that there might be. So consider your dog. If you think that they have separation anxiety, consider what they're doing when you leave. Now, I think I was able to tell the story about how we forgot to crate our dogs completely the other day. So they ended up destroying a bag of food. I would not count that as a destructive behavior due to separation anxiety or frustration over the fact that we have left the dogs alone. I would just count that as, hey, there's food here, might as well eat it, I love my dog so much. So, there was a bag of kibble that I left on top of one of the crates, thinking that we left the dogs crated at home, when in fact we only left them locked up in this room here in my office. They took advantage of the fact that we left food unattended in a place where they could easily get to it. So I'm not mad at them for that. That was our fault, 100%. But there are other instances that it can be a lot worse. Like, I've seen pictures of couches seem to be the object of favor, being completely destroyed out of either frustration or boredom. So to be able to determine this, you're going to have to take into consideration your specific dog. So some dogs, specifically coming to mind, Huskies, German Shepherds, Collies, dogs that have lots of high drive that really need to be exercised, not just physically but mentally, are going to be prone to having separation anxiety because, I put that in quotes for a reason, I'll explain that in a second, because they are bored. So when their handlers leave, they're left to their own devices. And so sometimes they need to pass the time. They need to get out that excess energy. So what do? They go and destroy things like the couch, your shoes, your socks, things like that. So just because they're destroying things to an extreme extent does not mean they have separation anxiety either. My first step to deciding if it is separation anxiety is making sure that dog gets as much mental and physical stimulation as possible before moving on to the next step. So if you think your dog might have separation anxiety, try wearing them out thoroughly before you move on to, taking that next step into, oh my gosh, they need medication from a vet, things like that. It's very normal. There's a lot of information on it, and there's also not a lot of information on it, which is part of the reason why I'm creating a course. So there's lots of things to take into consideration when it comes to determining this. A lot of the times, there's also the dogs that break out of the crates. There's also this other thing called containment phobia, which I'm still looking into that myself as a little bit of side research. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Is this in focus? There we go. Hopefully that's a little better. So there's a lot of things to look at. Now, if you have questions about your specific dog, feel free to reach out. I can't, there's no blanket statement I can use to cover, all dogs who might potentially have separation anxiety. So please feel free to reach out to me and ask your questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them. So to move on to the question I had from Michelle here, let me pull it up real quick. Oh, of course I sent it away. She was tuned into my live video, and then unfortunately, I kept not wanting to work. So let me see the comments, please. Phone 5 comments. That's what I want to see. So, all right. Here we go. So, she says, I asked her if she had any specific questions she wanted me to cover. And she said, just how to make it easier on the dog when you leave. I don't know if my puppy has separation anxiety or not, but she whines and whines when I go into the next room. The puppy is currently being crate trained. So even if she goes to the bathroom and leaves her in the crate, she whines and howls until she comes back. Okay, so for a puppy, totally normal. Puppy, try and find the short amounts of time in between the whining to re-enter the room. So this is crate training 101 right here. So even if it's like you went to the bathroom and the dog wasn't in the crate, you don't re-enter until that dog is quiet. Now, this is the hard part. So start with small increments of time. If you can only get 1 to 2 seconds, take that 1 to 2 seconds. This is, like I mentioned with the younger puppies, puppies who can't even see yet. They howl for their moms to come back. So it's the same behavior that your dog is displaying. You just want to make sure that you're correcting it and making it easier. Other ways to make it easier to prevent separation anxiety, especially in puppies, is don't make a big deal when you leave the house. Don't make a big deal when you come back to the house. You know, they can have a treat for going in their crate if you're crating when you leave. But, you know, no, oh, goodbye, I'm going to miss you so much. Because what your dog hears is, oh my God, this is the worst thing, I'm leaving you. You know, please whine, please cry when I'm gone. And that's not what we want to set our dogs up for, because it's just setting them up to be more anxious later on. So that's a common mistake, because dogs, you know, they don't understand English, so we think, you know, that they know that we're going to come back, and excuse me, that's not always the case. So we just have to make sure we're communicating in dog speak that it's not a big deal. And so we don't make a big deal about it, and the dog doesn't think it's a big deal that you're leaving or that you're coming back. I know that that's the hardest part when you come back to the house, is you just want to, you know, say hi to your dog. You want to get him all super excited. Oh, I miss you so much. I'm so happy I'm home, and so on and so forth. But to make sure you don't set your dog up for failure, you want to avoid that as much as possible, so that they're able to avoid having extreme case of separation anxiety later down the road. Now, that's part of a cause. So separation anxiety, there's no true set cause to why it gets started or why it becomes an issue. So there's not a whole lot of information study-wise on that either, which is a little disappointing. So the best thing you can do to prevent separation anxiety, or if you think your dog has separation anxiety, reach out to a trainer before you reach out to your vet. I mean, vets know a lot. I'm not saying that they don't know anything, but they focus more on the medicine portion of the behavior rather than the behavior itself. So if you think your dog has separation anxiety, speak with a trainer first. Chances are, you know, it might not be anxiety. It could be the boredom, like I mentioned. It could be, you know, containment anxiety, or containment phobia, or something similar to that. So be sure to reach out to a trainer about your specific case before you move on to immediately medicating your dog for anxiety. Because sometimes that really defeats some of the chance that you have of training your dog, and plus, you know, it's unnecessary to medicate if your dog has something other than, you know, full-blown anxiety. Also, with that said, you know, make sure the trainer that you're speaking with has a lot of background information or background in working with dogs who have that anxiety. Excuse me. So, where was I going here? So, yeah, do your research on who you're working with. Like I said, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I also do virtual coaching for, you know, anxiety cases. I work a lot with military families where it's super common for a dog to have some form of separation anxiety, transition anxiety, things like that. So feel free to reach out. And then I'm going to keep you guys posted on my anxiety course. I should be setting up the first information here in a few weeks. I'm getting my outline set up now, so as soon as I have that, I will send you guys the information. I'll post it on Facebook and my website as well. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's a short video, but again, like I said, there's so much involved with anxiety in dogs that it's hard to cover in such a way. So like I said, that's why I'm making the full course on it. But if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I will answer all of them as best I can. All right, guys, have a great day.